Well, I don't think in my music there's a great connection. There's not an overt connection between the music and politics in the big sense. But I mean, I sing about stuff. I mean, I can go back and fasten onto pieces of music that I wrote perhaps quite a long time ago that sometimes surprised me lyrically as to that I was actually singing about that then. I mean, in 1974, I wrote a climate change song in 1974, and this was not because I was ahead of the game. That's what people were talking about. If you read scientific journals in 1974, people were concerned, scientists were concerned about the potential for greenhouse gas emissions and their effects on the upper atmosphere and the potential to create a greenhouse effect with carbon dioxide. They got it wrong back then because they thought it would produce global cooling. And so I wrote a song called Skating Away on the Thin Ice of the New Day, which was talking about a future, but in optimistic terms, but one where climate change would potentially produce quite a difficult and hard environment to live in. And it turned out to be completely wrong, as we now know. Climate change is about global heating, not global cooling. But the principle was sound, and you know, that was 1974. It's a long time ago. And when I wrote the song "Locomotive Breath," it was a song about essentially the globalization of humanity in terms of both commerce and population growth, being on this insane trip to the edge of the cliff, like lemmings. And I sing that song every night. And what is in my head is stuff that you still won't find a politician today talking about. Politicians don't want to talk about population management, population determining optimum populations for nations, let alone the planet as a whole. It's stuff they can't talk about. No one wants to talk about it. The idea of suggesting that we should be growing towards a different personal and family ethic of keeping small family sizes is something that makes some people crazy. They would shoot me if I said, I think you should only have 2 children. Well, I thought I should only have 2 children, and I did. You know, my daughter has 2 children and says, that's it, no more. You know, but some people make that decision. Some people want to have 10 children and say, you know, we can have as many as we want. Well, I think perhaps, you know, 100 years ago or 300 years ago or 1,000 years ago, or going back to times of the Old Testament, it's all about having lots and lots of babies, as many as you possibly can, in order to populate the earth with lots of babies and make a wonderful place for everyone to live and have a great time. Back then, when, you know, perhaps there was only a few 100,000 people on the planet representing the earliest days of Old Testament writing, that might have been a valid viewpoint. It's enshrined in a document which I don't believe should be a blueprint for society today.